everybody, and welcome to week 6 of the Horsehead Weekly. This is going to be another abridged version, similar to last week, where I don't do a lot of crazy, cool, fun stuff, but this is what you're going to get, so deal with it. I'm a little bit busy. Next week, however, we will have a full slate of all the information, all the analysis, and all the cool stuff. So if my power rankings look weird this week, it's not because like other weeks where I put a lot of time and effort into it and I get it wrong. It's because I put zero time and effort into it. So let's see how that works out. Maybe that's just the right strategy to do. Who knows? Um, so we're gonna start off with last week's recap. A lot of interesting stuff went on. There are now only two teams at 1-4 and one team at 4-1. Everyone else is in that 3-2, 2-3 scrap in the middle, which I think is really cool to see. Just a lot of teams really fighting tooth and nail to try to just stay in it, and that shows not only in the recap and of last week with all those close scores, not only in these standings, which show that pretty much everyone's within 1 point of each other, maybe two if you're really unlucky. But in the eliminator, where last week we had no one eliminated, there were two people who had the option of being eliminated if they decided to not play well. It was myself and Matt M, and we both showed up and did very well. And then four people who already had a strike ended up getting a second strike, which means shy of Tyler, Matt S, Jerry, and James all being in the bottom, and only them being in the bottom, we will have people eliminated next week. Now, I did not expect to go 5 weeks with only, you know, like this. This is kind of crazy. Um, I kind of just thought there'd be a couple people who were just kind of, not that good, and they'd go the way of Mike and Jess, and there'd be somebody else eliminated this week, maybe two people eliminated this week, and you get down to three strikes. But I think next week's gonna be a bloodbath. I don't see a way out of it with the way that you know Jerry, James, Matt S, and Tyler's teams look right now. That it's not at least two people getting a strike, if not, the full slate of four, and it's just a massacre next week where you just see four teams just gone from the eliminator. Um, but yeah, other interesting notes from last week, as you can see, the average score. The average score was 120 points, which is up from the week before, and it seems like, maybe I thought it was just like a spike at week 3. Week 4 was beginning to regress, then I really thought week 5 was going to continue to go down. But yeah, for now we're just looking at maybe this is the new norm. Maybe 120 is just the average points from here on out, and we just kind of have to deal with it. But I think with the bye weeks this week, you're going to see it go down. But still, a lot of interesting games this week. And as I said, it's an abridged version, so no cool analysis of trades and other stuff that happened. Oh, so what kind of trades went down? What kind of cool stuff? I don't know. I've been trying to pay attention and keep up, but there's been a lot going on. A lot of people's teams have changed. So let's get into it with the C class, which is bad. And we're gonna start off with Nick. Nick did a couple things. One, his team had some injuries. Um, doop 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 boop boop. Where is Nick? Ah, so he had some injuries to his team, and then he went out and made kind of a boneheaded trade. Um, where okay, I think it was McKinnon was part of it. Yeah, this one right here, where he gave up Julio Jones and Jack Doyle. So basically Julio Jones for Alshon, who's a wide receiver too. He's got upside, but he's only been a wide receiver too, and Jerick McKinnon, who played really well for one game against a bad defense. So if McKinnon comes out and he's a top 10 running back, and Jeffrey ends up, climbing up to like a mid-tier wide receiver too, and Julio continues to show that he's just a bum this year and he just can't stay healthy, or he can't, get in sync, whatever his issue is, then yeah, no, 100% great. You absolutely crushed it. But I don't think that's how it's going to work out, and that's why I had to put you at the bottom. Um, Your team is just littered with people who I think are, you know, either peaking. I'm a little worried about Miller being peaking, but I think he'll be fine. But then you have McKinnon, who I think is peaking right now. Wentz is peaking right now. Um, and then the rest of your team is just like Cooks, who had one good game, and the rest of the game's been kind of met. Jeffrey, who's again a wide receiver too. Um, your bench has Baldwin, who yeah should be good when he gets back from the bye, but if not, he's just another wide receiver too. You have the New York Jets running backs for whatever that's worth. I mean, it's worth something as long as one of them's healthy, but when all of them are healthy, maybe they'll just start splitting the work. Who really knows? So that's my thoughts on Nick. Last week he was 11, now he's at 12. This week, Jess declines one more spot because, I mean, I'm sorry to say it, Jess, it's your team. You've been putting up bad points the last few weeks, as you saw in the Eliminator slide. Your defense is insane. Like every single week I look at your defense, and I'm like, those are three absolutely bomb ass players. But it's not your fault. I don't think you've done anything managing wise with your team to put yourself in this position where you're near the bottom. But Marshawn Lynch did not pay off. A lot of people had him as like a RB1, maybe I had him like an RB3, and he's been showing off that he's not that great. LeGarrette Blount had a couple good runs and stuff. Like he looks like he's a good football player, but I just think that he's just not going to end up getting the work. Tom Brady is Brady. You're fine there. But then you have like Cooper and Thielen and DT and Jordan Reed and Burkhead and Coleman and Graham and Stewart. Like all those players, basically everyone on your team not named Tom Brady, or a defensive player. Let's just be real here, is underperforming. Now, your team, if they live up to the potential that everyone thought they had, Cooper starts playing like a wide receiver one, and DT's a wide receiver one, or maybe high wide receiver two, low wide receiver one for Cooper and DT. Reed's that number three behind, or maybe number four behind like your Kelsey Ertz and Gronk. You could have a great team. I just don't think you're there. You can get there. I don't know what you have to do. Maybe find some people who are looking to buy a little bit low on these people and try to extract every ounce you can get out of them. Or you can just sit and wait, and maybe they'll turn around. Um, that's entirely up to you, but that's just my thoughts on how your team's doing right now, and that is why I have you at number 11. Moving on, I have myself at number 10. One good week is not enough to bring you out of the hole. I know that. You can't just say, hey, I had a great week this week. I'm going to go out and just ride that 150 points. I could have. Should I have? Probably, let's be honest. But, I went out and I made some deals. I ended up picking up Jordan Howard in a nice little trade, which I think was very even for both teams. I was in a bit of a jam with Mixon being out, so I upgraded Mixon, and I upgraded Hill and downgraded Kamara, and that just helps me out a ton because I had Mixon, who I had a bye week riddled team. Now I have Howard and Martin, who I can start this week, Ellington, who I can start this week, Ty, who I can start this week. Um, I mean, when I'm at full strength, my team's going to look sick. But right now, I'm just kind of like, well, my flex, I could probably do better than Ellington, but I have to figure out who I'm going to do that with. If Shepard ends up playing, then I'm probably happy with my wide receiver too. But for now, I have John Brown, maybe Kendall Wright. So I'm kind of in this rough spot. But when my team is at full strength, and if Rawls ends up winning the job, I mean, I'm starting Deshaun Watson, Howard, Martin, Green, Ty, Bennett, who's meh, Hunter, Collins, and Perfect for my defense. And then that leaves me with a flex spot who I can rotate through people like Rawls and if he wins the job, Ellington if he continues to do what he's doing, which is just be a fantastic, pass catching running back in a half PPR league. I'll continue to take that. So I'm just looking at this team and I'm just like, yeah, no, I really do enjoy this team. Alex Collins, if he takes a job and runs with it. Sterling Shepard, if he ends up becoming as talented as everybody thinks he is. Especially now that he knows that OBJ might be is out for the rest of the year, and OBJ I believe is on a contract here too, which means that he now gets to sit there and say, well, let me prove to these people that I'm worth an investment because I can be, and not maybe not OBJ, but I can be a wide receiver one for them, and they can go out in the draft and pick up other players and make the team better around me, so I can get that big paycheck. That's just a thought, but I do like the way that my team is currently situated. So, but hey, who knows what's going to happen? That's why I have myself so low because I only had one good week. A lot of these players could be, your Watsons, your Martins, uh, they could just disappear, and I could just be sitting here saying, "Oh, great, I just wasted a bunch of time and effort on a team that is garbage again." So who knows? Let's see how that goes. Moving on, we have the B class, which is the OK class, and we're going to start off with James. James is where's Bravo? Oh no, is he not here? Well, James has a football team, and apparently I forgot to pull it up. So I'm just going to go back to the screen for now. Um, I mean, if I remember correctly, his team was good. It put up a lot of points the last 2 weeks. A little disappointing in the what happened to him last week was he's 1-4. For a time, he was 2-3, but then there was a sack correction that came in on the one of his defensive players. I think it was a safety, and knocked him down enough so that he was out for the week. And that's just kind of incredibly rough to see. But his team's still pretty good. He has Le'Veon Bell, Chris Hogan, Devontae Adams. I think Terrell Pryor is going to start to make a turnaround. I mean, he's got the pieces on his team to do really great this season. Is he going to be able to do it? It's a little bit rough at 1-4. It's not impossible for him to make a run to maybe play 13 weeks a year. I'm probably looking at him needing to go like 6 wins for the rest of the season, and 6 of 8 is going to be tough. But I think he can do it. I think he has the pieces, and he is also definitely a contender in the brawl at the end of the year to see who gets that fifth place $50, the fifth place 50, if you will, which I think is a nice way of putting it. But yeah, I just feel bad for him because I don't know what his issue is that he keeps running into that causes him to have these really low scoring weeks and everything, or not really low scoring weeks, but like his low wins. But that's how it goes, James. Sorry about that. Better luck next time. Dave. Dave. Ah, here he is. Dave is the other side of the trade that I made to get Howard, where he got Kamara and Mixon and Tyreek Hill. And I think that was a really good trade. I think I traded him some pretty good talent to get some good talent. And I think it helped out both of our teams because he is in a position where he can sit back and kind of say, okay, cool, I can sit Mixon this week because I got all my other players healthy and alive and doing good things. Because I lost OBJ last week, I was kind of scrambling for wide receivers and blah, blah, blah. And I had the buys. So, I think this trade was definitely mutually beneficial. And I think his team is another really good team. Um, yes, it's in the OK tier, and yes, it's a little bit low. But that's more of a product of the last few weeks. His scoring just really hasn't been there, which is a little confusing to me because his team, when you look at it, it's like, wow, that's a pretty good team. I can't believe, like he could do some really good things here. Uh, I feel like maybe last week it being so low was because he was so heavy on, um, like he had Devontae Freeman as one of his main players, and a couple other players I think he had that were out with buys. But regardless, I think his team is really good. He's got a lot of really good potential. Your Bryant's, Crowder's, Peterson, and Breida even that can come up and they can really fight with that flex spot. But I think the rest of his team is doing really good. Um, but I had to dock him a little bit because he did only put up 90 points last week, and he is only 1-4, which is kind of rough for him. But again, same thing I said to James. You're in this tier and not the lower tier because I think your team is good and has potential. but I also think that your team needs is just kind of not putting up good enough numbers and is also has a bad win loss rate. That's kind of why you're down this low. So, but hey, good luck to you next week. Next up, we have Matt M, his brother. Uh, so Matt has another one of those teams that it's I think it's the opposite to me of the other teams that I just talked about because they're low win rates and I think they're very good, but they're just having trouble. When I look at this team, I think kind of the opposite. I'm waiting for the wheels to fall off. Now, no offense, you made a bunch of trades and stuff this week, so your team does look a little bit different than it did before when I was really feeling that. But even now, like I just don't like CJ Anderson. Yeah, he's an RB1. Yeah, he's good, but I just have a gut feeling that something's going to go wrong with him soon, and I just don't want anything to do with him. I love Michael Thomas, however, and I think if Latavius Murray ends up becoming the guy you think he's going to be, then I think you have a great team. But for now, it's kind of a little bit rough sailing, and best of luck to you. But I'm more than willing to entertain offers for Michael Thomas because I think he's really cool, and I'd like to get him, Ty, and AJ Green on a team together, and then just kind of kick my feet up and watch that go down because I think that'd be a real fun time. But yeah, I just have some people who I'm a little bit worried about on your team though, like Chris Thompson, putting up great numbers, doing wonderful things, but I don't know if they really trust him. Like I don't know if I really trust anyone from Washington right now. Their team just kind of looks meh. Um, Will Fuller, flash in the pan? I think so. Anderson, I've already said. I think there's something going that's going to go downhill with him soon. Jarvis Landry, like, yeah, he could be a solid wide receiver too, week in, week out, but he hasn't really shown that as of yet. I mean, if you look at his numbers, he's, you know, he's had 2 games over 10 fantasy points, which you kind of need if you want to be in that wide receiver 2 range. It's just kind of constantly pumping out those numbers. And as somebody who gets high targets, low yardage, and low touchdowns, I think that's what you need. And I don't know, he's just not cutting it for me. But he doesn't have a bye, so maybe who knows? Um, so that's Matt M. And moving on, we're gonna get to Doug, and I agree with that question mark because I don't know what's happening in this. Uh, so for Doug, we have this team. I mean, first off, I just want to talk about the fact that he has Russell Wilson and Matt Ryan on his team, which is kind of insane to me. But hey, you live your best life, dude. Um, and then for running backs, Mark Ingram, Christian McCaffrey, Aaron Jones, T.Y. Hilton. That's an interesting group. Because you have the Green Bay backs locked up, depending on whoever is healthy, which it looks like Montgomery's going to be healthy, but did Aaron Jones take the job, or are they going to split time? In like a worst case scenario for you, I don't really know. You have Mark Ingram on your team though, who is looking really good with the Peterson trade. He's out in Arizona now, bothering whoever the running back is in Arizona that's not Ellington because Peterson's not going to catch footballs. Um, and then you have McCaffrey, who's been underwhelming but fine as an RB2, like he does his job. So I'm really curious to see how those running backs are going to shape up for you because looking at the rest of your team, I'm really intrigued by it. I really do like your defensive players. I think Evan Ingram's just going to continue to develop and be good because they literally have no one to throw the ball to right now in New York. So if you took like the New York Giants and New York Jets and smushed their receiving core together, you might be able to get like an okay receiving core. And Evan Ingram, I think he's going to take advantage of that. And then you have Diggs and Garcon, who I think are both really, really talented players. If Diggs can end up avoiding being hurt, because he did go down last week, and if Garcon ends up, continuing to pump out good numbers, I think you're going to have a real special, receiving core and the rest of it. I'm just really worried about your running backs, dude. If I could package like McCaffrey and Russell Wilson together for maybe, one of those solid wide receiver or running back ones, like I wouldn't go for C.J. Anderson myself, but something in that range, or just find somebody who needs a quarterback and has a really good running back, and just try to see if maybe you can send them some kind of a package deal there and make it work. Oh, look, Theo Riddick's here too. How's Theo Riddick been doing? Is he even good this season? Uh, cool, good chat. Let me know when you're good, Theo. But yeah, so there we go with that. That's Doug. Moving up now, we have Mac at fifth. So Malcolm. So he is playing the long game. And by that, I mean he just traded for Ezekiel Elliott in a very controversial move, which ended up later on, I think, not actually being that controversial. It was just a couple people were a little bit upset for reasons. But just imagine this team, if he makes the playoffs, playing in the playoffs week one, because I don't think he's going to bye with this team. Cam, Zeke, David Johnson, Jordy Nelson, Mike Evans. At that point, I don't think you care who else is on this team. But there's more. He's got, you know, Pirine, who I don't think is going to do much, but he's got Duke Johnson, who's been playing very well. He can throw him in the flex. Josh Gordon, he comes back to play football. Boom, he's in the flex. He can pick up people or make a trade partway through the season to try to, like, get some better players. He's got Stafford or Cam. He can play those matchups in the playoffs too. Njoku or Dixon. I mean, I don't think Dixon's going to be good long term, but I mean, this guy is a rookie that people really thought were talented, and I mean, he's starting to show that he's a part of the offense. He's not super involved, but maybe he ramps that up soon. Um, but yeah, I think this is going to be one of those teams that is going to be great in the playoffs, but he's got to get there. And I don't know if he's got a team where he's starting running backs of Johnson, Pirine, and Gallman. I don't know if he's got a team right now that gets him there. I mean, yeah, he's got Jordy and Evans and Cam, but I don't know. I think it'll be real interesting to see how this goes, dude. You're running some risky plays, but yeah, I want to see how this plays out. So this is going to be a real fun experiment in buying up people who are hurt and seeing how they look when they come back. Dave Johnson's got some new news. Let's see what he's got to say. Thanksgiving's the earliest he'd be able to return. So, going into the playoffs, you could get Johnson and Zeke back, but you also might not get Johnson back, and Zeke might come back and they limit his work because who knows, maybe the playoffs are kind of out of reach for Dallas and they say, "No, we're not going to waste, reps on him and stuff like that." Or maybe he comes back in 6 weeks, 7 weeks of not being with the team and oh my god, he spent 7 weeks without the team. Yeah, they say here's the football run that way, but he might be a little rusty or something. Who knows? He might come back week 12, be rusty and kind of meh. Week 13, they kind of work him in with a timeshare. Who knows, dude? You're running a risky gambit, and I think that's all that needs to be said about that. Moving on, we got the A class, the good class, and we're gonna start off with Gerald. Now Jerry's got a team that I don't remember having Crabtree. Did he make a trade this week? No, he's had Crabtree for a very long time. Well, good for you because I think Crabtree's all going to have a real good week this week. He also got Hopkins, who he's been talking about all season long, how much he's loved him. And you know what? It's worked out for him. So good on you, dude. Little concerned about, Ajayi, but I think he's got a team right now that's really set up. He's got depth through and through. He's got Brayton Rudolph he can rotate through. He's got Mariota and Palmer he can rotate through. And I think between Ajayi, Abdullah, and McCoy, and then Smallwood when he gets back, I think you're going to be able to find two good running backs every week. Hopkins and Crabtree are going to continue to be just really, really good. And then for your flex, I mean, again, you can whoever the running back you're not playing is, and then you just have a bunch of other really good players. I mean, Parker's can do it. J.J. Nelson can do it. If Nelson ends up, being the second guy, well, Sorry, John Brown goes down eventually because we all know how he can't help it, genetics, but the sickle cell trait I think is eventually going to take him out for the season, which is rough to say about somebody. I mean, I love him. I think he's a great talent, but it's just the way it's going to work out. So that's how I think about your team, Jerry. Moving on to Mike, the garbage rocket. Let's see how he's doing. And his team is looking interesting because he's the guy who traded away Zeke, and what he got back is Buck Allen and Larry Fitzgerald, which I think is a good trade for him because what he's trying to do right now is he's trying to win now. He's trying to make sure he gets his ticket punched to the playoffs. And when he's there, then he'll worry about it because he could, all you need is Zeke to have one bad week with a couple other your players and you're out. So he diversified. And he got Fitzgerald, who was looking like his old self again, and Allen, who, I mean, honestly, has been doing insanely good. And as much as I like Alex Collins, I think that they have shown that they don't trust him in the red zone yet. They don't trust him to kill the clock yet. So they're not going to trust him in garbage time when they're trying to catch up or when they're ahead. And they don't really want him touching the ball near the red zone because they're afraid he's going to fumble it. So really, where are they trusting Alex Collins? Well, they're trusting him in non-risky situations, and the rest of the time is going to Allen. And I think Allen's going to continue to eat that up for a week or two. And all it takes is, I think, one fumble this week from Collins, and it's going to be the Buck Allen show. He's going to be running around. He's going to be doing everything in his power to win the games for them in Baltimore. Meanwhile, you're going to have Collins sitting the bench being sad. On the flip side, Collins spends the next 2 weeks, doesn't fumble the football. I think it's entirely possible that, so let's see what they have going on. They got Chicago this week, Minnesota the week after. If they can survive those 2 weeks, I think they're going to go all in on Collins. Allen's still going to be the third down back, but first down, second down, clock killing, red zone. If he can show Collins that he can hold on to the ball, he gets a tasty matchup in Miami, a tasty matchup in Tennessee before going to the bye. And if he can just stay fumble free for the next 4 weeks, which is a lot to say, I think coming out of the bye, Allen's stock's going to go down. Speaking of people whose stock's going down, Larry Fitzgerald. You know, he's probably going to have a really good week this week, but after that, the Rams, I think they have a good defense. Seattle's got a good defense every year. Houston. So I really think this is going to be interesting to see how he plays for the rest of the season. Now, he's got tasty playoff matchups, but he's got to get there while still being good to be able to be trusted. And he's shown in the years that he fades after the first 5 or 6 or so weeks. So let's see how he does, and I think that's all the analysis we need for this team. A lot of really good players doing really good stuff, but at the same time, some risky stuff going on. I'm riding the Rocket for one more week, and then I want to see how it's going to break out, because what did he do last week? Because I know he won. Was he the one who played? Yeah, he was the dream crusher on James, who really, really wanted that second win. So he could go from 0-3 and, back up to 2-3, but was not in the cards for him. So that's Mike's team. Moving on to number 2, that's where we found Matt S. This team just keeps looking better and better every single time I check. So, I was talking before about Malcolm's team and how great his team looks for the playoffs. This is a team that looks great right now. He's got, Carr, Brissett. He can rotate through and find a quarterback that'll put up 20-something points, be a top 8 quarterback every week. You can typically find those on the waivers. So, but ignoring that one thing, he has a team that has Gurley, Hyde, Julio, Dez, Kelsey. That's 5 core players that are absolutely insane. And I think any one of us would say, yeah, no, or at least most of us would probably say, yeah, no, I will trade my core 5 starters for this core 5 starters. And then at his flex, he's sitting there with, I don't know, do I want to start Kelvin Benjamin, Willie Snead? I mean, yeah, no, those are real good players too. Deshaun Jackson in a good matchup, he can be really good too. So you're sitting here with all these type of players, and then your defense is Davis, Ingram, and Joseph, who I think are 3, again, very good players. The numbers show them. They're 6th, 5th, and 6th in rankings. So I think this. Oh, he's got Dak, so he doesn't even need to stream. Why are you holding on to Carr and Brissett, dude? You just drop Carr. No one cares. No one will care. It's fine. Carr's not that good anyways. Next week he'll. My God, this team. This is definitely the second best team in the league, and is definitely a challenger for number one, which I think you all know who that is already. It's the S class. It's the Tyler class. It's Tyler. He's got the best team. Yeah, I mean, it's just Rodgers, number one at his position, easily. Hunt, number one at his position. Gronk, number one at his position. Fournette, easily top five. Gordon, easily top eight. Um, Allen, wide receiver one. And then he's got, you know, the number one defensive lineman, the number three defensive tackle, which is cool, I guess. Zach Brown, who's been looking really, really good lately. Devin McCourty. I mean, let's just look at Zach Brown for a second here. 12, 10, 11, 9, which I think if the pattern holds, he'll get 10 this week. But who knows? He had the bye in there, might have messed with it. He also sniped this one off of waivers, so good on you, dude. I think this is a really tasty matchup too, and I think you're gonna be real happy you got him. But I mean, just going through his team, his one weakness that I see is his wide receiver two. But he's got Golden Tate, and if Golden Tate turns it on and does Golden Tate things, I mean, he's got what, New Orleans and then a bye. He can go into New Orleans, play really great, ride that feeling through the bye, and then you have Tampa Bay, Chicago, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Chicago, and Cleveland. I mean, just a great schedule coming out the other side. I don't know. I'm real happy with this team. It's just insane. I don't even know why I'm bothering talking about it any more than I need to. You're great, Tyler. Just keep doing your thing. Enough for the games of the week, as I like to end every time with. And this week it's brother battles because we got two battles of the brothers. First, we have the M brothers, Dave and Matt M. And it's great. I mean, I think this is why you play in a league with your brother. You get to face him twice a year. And yeah, I may be a little bit biased helping out the one side, but dude, Matt, if you want, I'm more than willing to trade for Thomas. I mean, I'll help you out. You want? I'll take Thomas and Ertz for players. Hit me up, boo. But and I mean, I know you really can't put too much stock in the projection from ESPN, but 120 points and the line is only plus zero point 0.2. This is going to be a great game. This is just going to be. I think this is going to be a great game. As is the other one, the S. You got Matt S. and James facing off. Man, this is another good one. I think this is going to be a lot of fun to watch these guys talk. I mean, I think Slack's been a little bit quiet about it. There was a little bit of a dust up earlier today, but man, this is going to be great. This is going to be great watching some brother battles this weekend and just trying to keep up with all the smack talk going on. I mean, I have to say, Matt S. feeling a little bad for him because I mean, look, he's got Q Q Q Q Q bye. I mean, it's a little bit rough, and if some of these players don't like, if Kelsey doesn't play and stuff, it's gonna be a real big boon over to your brother. But best of luck to everyone involved. Yeah, everyone's just doing great things. So good luck to everybody, and yeah, I'll see you next week. So hopefully y'all enjoyed the video, and I'm just gonna make a quick little video, no big deal. It won't be that long because I'm not gonna have any crazy stuff. I'm not gonna go that in depth. Half an hour later. Ugh.